Hello Internet, welcome back to Tromsø Twilight, the channel where I, Vincent, talk to you, the Abyss, about books, movies, music that I find interesting, that I enjoy, or a combination of the two. Today I'm going to be talking about Angela Carter's book, Black Venus. Now this isn't the book that I've just finished reading. What I've just finished reading is a book about Wilhelm Reich's experiments on bions. It's like a kind of reconsidering of Reich's experimental work. I didn't think that was a suitable book for this channel, but if you disagree and you think that Wilhelm Reich is very interesting and this is the most interesting thing I've ever mentioned, why am I not talking about it? Let me know in the comments and I will do a video about that book. It'll just take me a bit more planning. I thought Angela Carter is much more the type of thing I normally talk about. Now, Angela Carter, if you don't know her, she is an English writer of stories. I don't know actually if she might have originally been American and moved to England. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh no, I just checked the inside. It was the opposite. She was born in the UK, but she did live and work in America. Anyway, she's known for writing stories that are based on recognizable figures, like either fairy tales or very often kind of historical figures. In this book, I think it's largely historical figures. And the first one, the titular story, Black Venus, is based on a woman who was a lover to Charles Baudelaire, who wrote The Flowers of Evil, which was very influential on the Surrealists and I believe on people like Patti Smith. We're not going to get into him right now, but this is the story of kind of a muse who also, I believe, if I remember the story correctly, had syphilis. It wasn't my favourite story in the collection, but the writing style was very strong. The second story, which is called The Kiss, is probably maybe the weakest. It's very short. It's just a brief vignette. But then the third story is a price of admission story. This story is just amazing. It's called Our Lady of the Massacre. And it's based on a woman who was adopted into a Native American tribe. And it's about her coming from the UK where she never felt respected. It's a kind of, critique of women's position in British society and the class system. And she comes into this Native American community where she feels part of community for the first time, and then this tribe meet the British again. It's brutal, it's beautiful, it's political. It's not even that long, so if you just want to read one of these stories, there's two or three that I recommend, if you were just going to dip in, and this is one of them, about this woman from Lancashire, England, who became a member of an American tribal community. The next story, maybe in tribute to her Gothic influences, is about Edgar Allan Poe, and it mixes together a sort of slightly supernatural Gothic-y aspect with stuff about the theatre and with things about Edgar Allan Poe's mother. And her kind of life on the stage and her illness and how these things influence Poe's writing when he got older. If you're a Poe fan like me, this story has a lot of Easter eggs. You'll enjoy it. It's probably not one of the strongest in the book, but it's a good story. Then there's a story called Overture and Incidental Music for Midsummer Night's Dream. Now this is probably the weirdest one. It has almost this magic realist sense, and it's about the fairies and the kind of supernatural beings in Midsummer Night's Dream and their community and their behavior in the forest at midsummer. So it's very fantastical and very sort of vibrant. It keeps addressing the reader as you, so it's like you're in the forest and you are seeing these things occur, and you see the creatures, and in some ways it has like a relationship to these Victorian stories of English children finding fairies in the garden, but also it's obviously mostly alluding to Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. And then it ends by saying, the orchestra has laid down its instruments, the curtain rises, the play begins. So what I realised right at the end of the story was that this is describing the kind of fanciful images that run through your mind as you listen to the music played as an overture before the play starts, before the curtain goes up. And I wonder if maybe Carter might have actually been to a performance, maybe at the Globe or the Royal Shakespeare Company, and that she was describing her flights of imaginative fancy as she heard the overture played by the orchestra. Okay, then we come to one of my other two favourite stories, Peter and the Wolf. Now, I don't know the Peter and the Wolf story very well. I only know the piece of music. And I know that there's like a narrative attached to it, but I don't really know that much about it. But this story is kind of set in, I think it's Bavaria or something. And it's about this kid, Peter, and a girl who is taken away by wolves, and then they find her and they bring her home, and then the wolves come to get her and take her back. And it's like the part of this story where the wolves come to get their human wolf cub is like so evocative and terrifying. It's like really an excellent piece of what is essentially horror writing. The Kitchen Child, I'm going to hop over it. It wasn't really my favourite. I didn't love it. It's sort of a story about domestic servants being abused, and about like illegitimate children within these kind of stately homes in the UK. But it's told in this sort of comic style. It wasn't it wasn't really to my taste compared to the others. But then the last story, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So this is a story about Lizzie Borden, who famously killed her parents with an axe. And it's told, as a story about the house where Lizzie Borden lives, right up until the crime occurs. And it's never stated directly, but it's very clearly a story about abuse in the home that is kind of dissociated and that's sort of in the background, and that's driving Lizzie to become more and more disturbed. And it's like, this was one of the best short stories I've read for quite a while. If you've never read Angela Carter, but you enjoy these kind of like gothic feminist stories, but with a real serious undercurrent, read this story, The Fall River Axe Murders. Amazing. Okay, have you read Angela Carter? What do you think about her? Do you like her? Do you not like her? Have you got any other recommendations for anything that might be sort of kind of in this vein? Because I'm always looking out for this type of material. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and see you soon.